This is on how the Naruto game's combat is going to work. We're going to go over plot points, action, and turn order. Right about here is where combat would start. Naruto activates his QB mode, and Sasuke activates his Sharingan, which will be passive effects that will each turn consume chakra points. So while we'll say that the turn starts here, or like combat actually starts here, we'll say that this is the start of the first turn. So here Sasuke is faster, so he's going to start his turn first. He gets knocked back and he will spend his action kicking a sword since he's not in range. So not in range for taijutsu means that he's in passive mode right now. Here Naruto is exchanging taijutsu with Momoshiki, and you can see on how this armor class will take effect. Basically what happens is that Naruto will wear down Momoshiki's quote-unquote armor, and as soon as he breaks down this armor, his attacks will now deal actual physical damage to what he is. The way that armor will work is at the beginning of each turn, you get a armor class depending on your stats. What will happen here is that the enemy will have to try to wear down your armor stats to will have to lower your armor stats in order to hurt you, and vice versa. Enemies will have a lot higher armor stats since it's going to be a team battle sort of thing versus one. And at the start of each turn, of course, it refreshes. And here Sasuke comes. He was waiting to react for Momoshiki to take damage. Since he was out of range, he held his turns until he saw that Naruto's player broke through the armor, and thus he got a physical attack to confirm that yes, his armor is broken. Naruto and Sasuke now know a general idea of how high Momoshiki's armor is, and they are and just flavor-wise, I assume this glance is that they come up with a plan on how to take him out the next turn. The idea of this combat is to use to finish combat as fast as you can. Use as little tricks as possible. Use as little tricks as possible, and for a sort of like all-in attack. If that all-in attack succeeds, then you have an easy fight. But if they don't, your enemy now has an advantage against you because they know what you can do and how you plan to take them down. And Momoshiki will come in here, and as the turn starts here, we'll say for right now that this is the start of a new turn, Momoshiki will switch over to a new form, which will be the Kenjutsu stance. Kenjutsu will act a lot like taijutsu, except that you'll have a general disadvantage if you're not proficient in that weapon. To start off with, you are proficient in kunais and shuriken, but they don't do a lot of damage. The benefit of Kenjutsu is that your attacks are more lethal if you break through an armor class, and if you are able to successfully land a hit while the enemy's armor class is still up, you do a partial damage to them. So this is like the shuriken grazing someone, or a kunai wounding someone. It can perform a wound, and it can actually take someone down if their health is low enough. But for general stuff, it's just to work as chip damage. So in this section, Sasuke and Naruto basically punch Momoshiki so far off that they cannot get to him before their turns end, or their actions end. So this was, again, more of a way to double check his armor class to see if his armor class changes between states. And also this works out well since they were not in range. So their turn just ends naturally. They spent their actions to catch up to him. And thematically wise, this is where the Naruto and Sasuke player would agree on a plan. They would talk out of character, and they would come up with this plan that they are about to perform. So right here, Sasuke uses his kunai and uses electricity to enhance his shurikens, while Naruto uses the shadow clone. This is an example of a team-up attack where your two jutsus combine and you perform an attack as once with a much higher to hit rate. Here we can see Momoshiki taking the chip damage I was saying earlier about with Kenjutsu with shurikens and knives. So while his AC is taking damage, his armor class, he is also taking chip damage, which weakens him. And what Momoshiki also did was, when you saw him scream, that was a reactionary defense. By nature, you are simply dodging or parrying attacks, but you may use one of your actions per round to use a jutsu to negate the effect of a jutsu or ability. It costs an action and it costs chakra. So if your enemy is out of turns, you can theoretically just wail on him, and he's only able to try to dodge or parry. He's not allowed to use any jutsu to try to defend himself. This shuriken was actually thrown by Naruto, and this brings us to the topic of plot points. Plot points are basically allows you to make minor fixes and changes to your plan. So, for example, when Naruto throws this, if he says, "I have a clone that is actually a copy of me," that doesn't cause a plot point. But if he throws a shuriken and Momoshiki dodges, and Naruto character says, "I actually want this shuriken to be a clone," then that's going to cause a plot point. The more plot points you use, the more extensive this disbelief of planning can be used. So one plot point is very basic, like, oh, this is actually this, while 2 plot points is like, well, I actually have this jutsu or this offshoot of my jutsu, or 3 plot points is like, I'm coming up with a new jutsu that's an extension of this, and like 5 plot points is like you come up with a new jutsu on the spot. 10 points is like an incredible feat that like no prior stuff has been done before. We have Momoshiki reacting again. He's going to use his chakra absorption to try to absorb the Rinnegan Shuriken, which, for this sake of the fight, let's say that the Naruto character forgot about him being immune to chakra damage and being able to absorb it. The Sasuke character uses plot point to say, actually, the Rinnegan Shuriken is actually me. It's to bait him. That, in this context, it would cost 1 plot point, since Naruto and Sasuke are super close. But in all other circumstances, for non-close characters, I would say that would cost 2 plot points. And of course, Momoshiki reacts with the chains, and for the sake of argument, we can say that the chains prevent the use of reactions, just to make things simple. And we can also say that Momoshiki's out of actions anyway. Hey. And by now, Momoshiki's AC is gone because of the shurikens. However, just to make sure that it wasn't chip damage that Momoshiki was taking, the Naruto character is going to punch him in the face to see if he takes actual damage. Upon seeing Momoshiki take actual damage, that's when Sasuke will be using his planetary devastation, which is a Newton jutsu which causes physical damage, so Momoshiki cannot absorb it, which is the end of the fight. They had a lot of advantages here because Momoshiki was not expecting this amount of like cooperation and planning. However, if this failed and Momoshiki got his next action phase, they would not get advantages. In fact, may suffer disadvantages when trying to use the same ideas or techniques, because the idea is that you need to end these fights quickly and reveal as little tricks as possible until it's time to do it. This game will revolve around a lot of wearing down your opponent and waiting for like learning about them and waiting for the opportune time to strike. Your opponents will also do this. And to tie this all together, we're going to be using the original fight of between Naruto and Sasuke versus Zabuza as an example of plot points, turn order, and actions. So just to really quickly wrap this up, here's the situation. Of course, we all know Zabuza gets Kakashi in a water prison. And just for simplicity's sake, we can just say that Kakashi is stuck in here, and Zabuza needs to remain immobile to keep him in here to do chip damage. This fight goes on for a really long time. We'll just narrow it down. Here we have Naruto trying to defeat Zabuza, who is at a massive advantage, and he can't even damage his armor class. He's like doing negligible damage, so it doesn't even matter. But of course, this falls a plan. Naruto here states that he will turn into like the biggest shuriken he can and hand himself off to Sasuke. And for the sake of argument, we can say that Sasuke does not need to use a plot point to wield this thing, as he's an Uchiha, and Uchihas have been stated to be really good with shurikens. Kagefusha! So Sasuke's advantage with shurikens gets him past the water clone, but however it's not enough to damage Zabuza's AC at all. A plot point is used here to say that that Sasuke can use the shadow windmill technique to make it look like there's a shadow of a shuriken. I would say that this would cost 2 plot points since there's no prior knowledge of Sasuke being any good at this. I would say 3, but again, Uchihas and their shuriken, I will give it with 2. Shuriken no kage ni shuriken ga. Yappari amai. For this part, I'm actually not too sure if it would take Naruto a plot point to do this, because while he stated that he was one of the shuriken, Sasuke of course made a clone of the shuriken. So I would say depending on the day, it could cause a plot point or it could not cause a plot point. It really depends on how the planning stage went and how the use of the last plot point was used. So here, Zabuza probably could dodge his attack if he was not using the water prison. But since he has to stay here, and this attack right here would probably break down his AC. And since it's a kunai to the face, it probably would kill him. So he has to break the water prison here in order to dodge it and not die. So the reason why Kakashi is able to block this attack from Naruto is because while he was in the water prison, while he's immobile and can't do anything, his turns are still happening. And so as soon as he breaks out of the water prison, he's able to react and save Naruto. And this kind of brings us to the topic of on how combat turn order will work. You all share one turn, and whoever is faster gets to react first. And only you can react to something if someone's attacking you. So say if person A is attacking you, who is person B, you are allowed to react to them, even if you are slower. However, say that there's a third person, say that your ally wants to protect you from this attack. The way that will work is this. If person A attacks person B, person C can react to save person B, but only if they have a reaction time equal to or faster than person A, and they didn't use that action to do something else beforehand. So if person C is slower, he is unable to react. But if it's person C's turn at the third round, he can choose to save his action to react to person A the next time he gets to react. Now note that Zabuza wouldn't actually take any damage here. It was all his AC. He just got glanced. However, in order to prevent say lethal hit or a really extraordinary hit that would cripple him, he had to dodge and thus break out of the water prison. So technically Naruto and Sasuke won this fight because they achieved the goal of the fight, which was to free Kakashi. So even though that they didn't break his AC at all, they were able to make him move, which honestly is what made him win the fight in the long end. So it's not all fights where you have to like beat your opponent or kill them. Sometimes there can be like a secondary objective. Hedon comes to example as someone who his whole thing was to keep him out of his circle. You do that, you win. So yeah, be creative with how you approach these fights, and have fun.